KGB. I had a meeting that afternoon. The coffee was very good. I drank too much of it. By the time I walked the handful of blocks to KGB bar, I was shaky. My bones and skin felt cold. My muscles and tendons and blood burned in comparison. I'd say I was feverish, but I'd prefer to avoid gothic romance novel territory. When I got upstairs and poked my head into the bar, I didn't recognize anyone. The closest seat to the door was open, so I sat in it and looked ceilingward. Shiny tin showed through chips in the matte black paint. The canopy of the closest light fixture dangled askew. The room glowed red. Friends started to trickle in. They found me staring up with wide eyes and a tense mouth. I was nervous. One asked how I could be. I'd already been asking myself that same question. There's this frantic tension I get before any performance. If it were diagrammed, it would be an asymmetrical cartoon starburst. Self-doubt is in there for sure. A bit of imposter syndrome branching off the doubt, some healthy fear, an ingrown habit from live aerial shows where overconfident sloppiness could lead to severe injury. Aerial acrobatics is the only work I've ever done that required me to sign liability waivers and have my own special insurance. I believe that tangled, spiky mess means you still give a shit. I do love this panicked feeling. Maybe in the way I imagine people who love roller coasters enjoy that moment before the terrifying drop. I can't say for sure because I don't like roller coasters at all. If I'm going to freak out my sympathetic nervous system, I prefer to do so with real stakes. My metaphorical heart, career, actual physical well-being. On to the part where I directly contradict myself. Most work involving cameras has the safety net of editing. You have multiple takes or a series of still photos to choose from afterwards. Any awful or awkward moments can be left to die on a hard drive. The stakes are lower because of this net, but then higher again because what doesn't die on that drive is public record for as long as the internet exists in any form resembling its current one. With live performance, there are no second takes, but also less documentation, unless someone is hiding a cell phone in their jacket and stealthily recording, of course. I've been performing for live audiences long enough to have built up a series of quirks and routines that serve as a coping crutch before live shows. Reading a personal essay in a room full of strangers, though, I'd never done it before and didn't have a single appropriate trick up my sleeve to calm myself with. Having never done it meant I didn't know how to productively direct my panic. And the room did fill, becoming what a person who goes by Fuck Theory on Twitter later described as a steam room on whiskey. They were definitely not wrong. As the temperature rose, sweat trickled down the sides of my rib cage. I began to regret wearing the visually interesting yet super itchy polyester dress I'd chosen for the evening. I wanted it off. Partial nudity is one of those inappropriate coping mechanisms I referred to earlier. I said to the semicircle of friends that I was very nervous and I might go stress masturbate in the bathroom. 2 of them offered to help. KGB has some of the most public women's toilet stalls I've ever seen, though, and the porn star being chucked out of the adult magazine reading early because of public fingerfuckery was just too predictable of a role to inhabit. Instead, they pressed various types of whiskey, bourbon, scotch, rye, into my hand for sipping and squeezed their own hands against my one non-drinking hand supportively. Hands, so many hands. A cuddle puddle started to form in the doorway to the room. I drew comfort from it. Eventually, my name was called to read. I shuffled my way past the standing audience, then through those sitting on the floor near the podium. Safely hidden behind this glorified soapbox, I slipped off my shoes. I'd written the piece barefoot and somewhat terrified of the judgment that comes from public disclosure of emotion. Over the past few months, I'd started rocking back and forth while writing and editing like a human metronome. In private, this tick works and isn't widely seen, so it evades judgment. In public, I'm afraid it will look crazy. I wouldn't allow my body to move while reading in the way that it moved while writing, but at least I could be barefoot and terrified. definitely terrified to an unusually high-pitched degree. I remember the escalating squeak in my voice, the overly bright reading light, and Sarah Nicole Prickett's beautiful face when she interjected, "Oh, that guy," who was very tall and had the lighter. When she interjected, I thought I might be off the hook. Maybe I'd gone on for too long and she was verbally giving me the vaudevillian shepherd's crook. No such luck, though. Even after my enthusiastic, "Yes, that guy," and an excruciatingly awkward pause. So I continued through to the open-ended end. After the end, I found my purse and escaped into the night air. When I exhaled that breath, it took most of my tension with it. Not necessarily better, but a more interesting release than that unprivate toilet could have accommodated.